I'm a Jersey guy. I have a lot of pride in New Jersey. I feel like New Jersey is the greatest state in our country. And mostly I feel that way because that's where I was born and where I grew up. You have that same pride when it comes to California. You wear it, you show it, you have a lot of pride. Tell me first and foremost that pride that you have in the state of California.
I think the biggest connection to California is definitely just the community that we have down there. And growing up, especially in Orange County, it was an awesome place to live. It was an awesome place to grow up, rich or poor. It was usually much better than most other places in the country. So yeah, I mean, that just really goes back to a lot of the values that I've kind of been uh, pressed upon me by my parents and stuff. That you care about your community, care about where you come from, and you take care of those around you. And that very much lends into why California will always hold a special place in my heart.
And on that same vein with giving pride and tribute, your wrestling name, Samoa Joe, and your Samoan heritage. Talk about that and how much that means to you.
I mean, I've grown up, kind of immersed in Polynesian culture in general. My parents, they owned a Polynesian dance troupe in Southern California, one that my brother still runs to this day. And we grew up, sharing our culture with the world. I mean, that's was our trade. That's what we did. And when you grow up in that kind of environment, when you are telling the stories, doing the dances, and playing the instruments and the songs, and really kind of showing the world the depth of the culture and what things mean. It's hard not to have an affinity for it and take a tremendous amount of pride in your ability to share that with the world.
Obviously, anyone that's listening knows what you've given to this sport, what you've done in the world of pro wrestling, and how you've had such a great career. When did you first just notice pro wrestling? When did pro wrestling first come into your life?
It was something that was big. My father enjoyed watching it. And obviously, outside of even the NFL at the time, it was very rare. There wasn't very many Polynesian people on television. But pro wrestling has always kind of had this rich history of Samoan and Hawaiian and athletes throughout the Pacific kind of being featured and a mainstay there. So I mean, very early on, it was very much kind of a cultural touchstone for a lot of Polynesians growing up in America because it was one of the rare times that you got to see people that I know this almost played out times, but looked like you and shared the same background. So I think that's why pro wrestling kind of holds a special place in most Polynesian communities.
It's funny, Joe, because for me, and I'm much older than you, and I grew up in the territory era. So I was able to watch Polynesian Pacific Championship Wrestling. And it's funny for me that I've learned a lot, and I actually kind of soft taught myself a lot about geography and culture and heritage through pro wrestling because I probably wouldn't have known anything about that area if it wasn't for pro wrestling. Do you kind of feel like pro wrestling, because it's so cultural diverse, that it is a gateway for people to learn about some of the backgrounds and heritage of the people who perform?
It's a gateway, maybe not the best one, especially in the 80s, but
True.
yeah, but no, it is somewhat of a gateway. A lot of the places, I think, especially places like Samoa, even places like Hawaii and New Zealand and stuff, without pro wrestling, they wouldn't be as known in kind of the American lexicon. I think it definitely had an effect on the exposure of the islands and really I think kind of it's just weird that at the time people in middle America knew who the Samoans were because of the wild Samoans. And I think that that's just I think that speaks to the impact of pro wrestling and how it always has had just some form of Polynesian representation in it throughout the years.
Yeah, and Joe, I think you make a really good point because you talk about the 80s and obviously before then, where it wasn't a good reflection of the pride and heritage of that culture. And so much has changed now. Do you feel like a sense of pride as well that, people are much more open and that you're able to kind of break those stereotypes over time?
100%. And I think it's just the evolution of a character in general. I think, in America, we enjoy a lot of third, fourth, fifth generation immigrants, and we know that they've grown up in an American culture. They have an ethnic background that may be from somewhere else, but it's just, you also have a lot of America in there too. So it's just like I think the characters that you see now, especially the Polynesian characters you see now, are reflections of modern day kind of Polynesians and how they exist in modern society. So yeah, I think it's nice that there's been an evolution, but I don't necessarily discount what they did back then either. I mean, when you talk about being this mysterious foreign heel to terrify the masses, nobody did it better than those guys. So it's like
It's
I
true.
almost don't want to discount their ability for the sake of they definitely got the job done.
There's no doubt, and people still speak their names. They're still
Exactly,
remembered
100%, and their
40 years,
legacy is still
50
felt to
years.
this day. So I mean, I think the staying power in and of itself is a testament to it.
When was that moment when you said, "This is something that I want to do. I want to be a professional wrestler"?
I think my first trip overseas to Japan, where um, it was kind of the first environment where it was taken so seriously and so much was kind of on the line, and I was in this new burgeoning company that was was really exciting at the time, and I think that was when I kind of looked around. I said, hey, this is something that I could be involved with full time. I could get used to this.
And Joe, even recently with you being AEW World Champion and with everything that you've accomplished and everything you've achieved during your career, how did it feel to capture that World Championship, knowing that AEW, a known company, a successful company, and a brand new company for the most part, not even 5 years old, had the faith to put that championship title on you?
Um, I mean, obviously, it's always a tremendous honor whenever you're carrying the heavyweight championship or the world championship. And I took it as such. Anytime that I've been given the opportunity to step into that role, I try to go out there and give it our best shot and get people to tune in and see what we're doing. So yeah, I mean, that's about as much as I can say about it, man. It's a good
Yeah.
time, and I look forward to getting back there sooner than later.
This month is obviously a celebration, AAPI. I always say it with everybody that we've talked to. It's something like with any culture or heritage, it should be celebrated every day, but it's great to have a month where it is spotlighted and making sure that it's being taught and people are talking about it. And I've always said this, that AEW does a great job with diversity and representation. And I'm glad that you came on today because you are representing AEW as a company on this special. But how much pride do you have in the fact that you're with a company that is diverse, that does show that diversity and representation of culture?
Honestly, even outside at AEW, I'm proud that I'm part of an industry that's very inclusive and has, so many different faces and so many people, and allows people to connect with other people across cultures. I think, culture is at its strongest when it's being shared, and pro wrestling has definitely allowed me to do that. And yeah, I mean, I think that this industry as a whole, it just has tremendous amount of characters from all over the world, and I'm very, very proud and happy to be involved in it, especially in its current incarnation.
Joe, I appreciate the time. Thank you so much. And I'm glad that you were able to represent, especially for a special that's so important to us. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, man. Take care.